Holy smokes, folks. Miguel Chavis is that dude. Kevin Sperry is that dude. And the Sooners have their foundational piece of the 2027 class in defensive end Zane Rowe out of Denton Guyer High School in Texas, to which Oklahoma has built a nice little pipeline in recent years. And before we go any further, folks, I want to make you understand this is a kid that could very well be, and in my mind, will likely be a five-star prospect in the 2027 class when such rankings come out. It's so early on that nobody has even ranked the 2027 class, which just speaks to how absurd it is that Oklahoma is able to get a player of his caliber on board this early. 6'5", 220 pounds, was not only a varsity player, but an impact varsity contributor this past fall for the Wildcats. And out of nowhere, Brian Clinton, Zane Rowe shuts his recruitment down, and he is the OG commit of 2027 for the Sooners. You've watched the tape. What is there to like? What is there to like most, I suppose, in your mind? Because obviously there's a ton to like about this kid as a player and a person. We'll dive into that. What gets you most excited about the player that Oklahoma's getting in Zane Rowe?
That he's 15 years old. He already looks the way that he does. It's absolutely insane that you have a player of his age that is already making the impacts that he is for Denton Guyer. And let's not pretend. I mean, Denton Guyer, this is a huge football program. This is the same program that's produced the Bowen brothers recently for Oklahoma and Jackson Arnold. Obviously, there's a lot of talent coming out of that area, and he plays against some of the best competition in the state of Texas, and he looks the way that he does at his age. It's incredible, and what really makes him jump out as an athlete is not only what you see from him as a defensive end, but what you see from him as a tight end and what you even see from him on the basketball court. Like it jumps out immediately that he is the most talented athlete on the floor or on the field wherever he's at. And so uh the really exciting part about that is the mentality that's already there. Like you don't see freshmen going at the rate that he is going on the football field very often. He's not timid. He's not afraid. He knows what he has and what he can work with. And that's only going to get higher and higher as he realizes his potential as he grows.
The first time I ever saw Zane Rowe in person was last June at TCU's camp. He had not been up to OU's camp yet. I would see him again about a week later at OU's camp. But first time I saw this kid, he's going into his freshman year of high school, right? He's still in eighth grade for all intents and purposes. To my recollection, he already had double digit offers because he has always just been something of an alien. He wasn't quite as tall then as he is now. He was probably 6'3", 6'4", but he definitely looked like he would not be out of place were he to go put on a college football uniform and step onto the field with guys 5 years older than him. Heck, maybe 10 years older than him with how old some of these guys are in the post-COVID era these days. But the point remains, Zane Rowe is a freak of nature. And Brian, this like the label generational is thrown around too often, and I don't want to put that kind of pressure on a kid this early on in the process, but every so often you see a kid very early on in his developmental process that is very conspicuously just different, blessed with god-given traits that are not bequeathed upon more than a handful of football players in the entire country, regardless of their age or regardless of their position. And so you see a guy like this coming up the high school ranks at Denton Guyer. You watch what he did on the field as a freshman, and it's not difficult to see who he is, especially if you ever get the chance to see him in person. Like it's impressive on tape, but if you ever stand face to face with the kid, you come to realize, oh, like this, is this really how they're built these days? No, the answer is this is not how they're built these days. That's just Zane Rowe. So absolute freak show in the 2027 defensive end out of Denton. And what does it say about the culture at Oklahoma, Brian, that when a kid like this has as many offers as he does already, and as many offers as he has, he would have, had he not committed to Oklahoma, picked up every additional offer in the Power Five over the next 2.5 years. And he still may. I have no question that I have no doubt that other schools will still try to flip him. But what does it say about the culture at Oklahoma that you could not only successfully recruit one of these aliens? Oklahoma's rostered aliens before. They got Adrian Peterson, right? And he's not the only example, but to not only successfully recruit one of these aliens, but to get him locked down before the conclusion of his freshman year of high school, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and think back, not that long ago, there was the stigma that Oklahoma could not land elite defensive talent. And here they are, likely, very likely the top defensive end defensive lineman in that class. But as you just said, a truly generational player potentially. This is a guy like you look at a player like Miles Garrett now. I hate like the comparison, just the physical stature.
I will
It
say that's the comparison that I have heard quite frequently for
it
Zane
it
Rowe.
is it is like spot on. And Miles Garrett still there's that video of him walking out from Hard Knocks, walking out of the onto the practice field, and he still looks different than the other NFL players. He's just that kind of guy. Like that's where Zane Rowe is at this point as a freshman, which is incredible. What it says about Oklahoma is the staff that Brent Venables has put together is just incredible on the trail. Like the guys that they have, the culture that they've built, and what is important to the guys in Norman, it relates very well. And obviously, as you said, some of the guys that have come out of Denton Guyer, that's going to play a role in it as well, right? Like that obviously helps. But whenever you have somebody of his pedigree that is already shutting it down and already saying I'm locked in with Oklahoma, that speaks volumes. And I think that speaks more than anything I could say would actually say about the program.
Remember a month and a half ago when people were going, "Oh, Kevin Sperry's leaving Oklahoma, transferring to Guyer. Is he really all that locked in?" Well, folks, not only is he all the way locked in, but in a month at Guyer, he has successfully helped Oklahoma land a guy that could very well be, as you mentioned, the number one defensive player in the nation come the class of 2027. And I think that's the best way to understand what Zane Rowe is as a football player is he has generational potential. I don't think it's fair to call anyone a generational talent this early on,
Mm.
but if you're looking for the rare specimen that could adequately be described with the generational talent label, typically you're looking for the types of cats that are 6'5", 220, and impact varsity starters as 15-year-old freshmen in high school. Zane
Right.
Rowe fits the bill in that regard. And so, all in all, Brian, to start off the 2027 class this early on is impressive enough. To start it with this kind of a bang, this will resound nationally. The addition of Zane Rowe for Oklahoma. This is something that no doubt is going to catch eyes, not just across the central time zone, not just across the region, but across the country. Because again, this is a kid that everybody wanted, everybody had eyes on. Now he's an Oklahoma Sooner. And one thing you know about anybody committed to the University of Oklahoma is that they're not visiting anywhere else once they're committed. Do you worry at all? Do you worry at all that this commitment comes too early, such that 2 years from now he's going to be wondering what he missed out on having committed to Oklahoma that early on in the process, and maybe gets a hankering to take other visits?
Part of me thinks that is something that does happen, especially with that age group of kids. Like just being around them from a coach's perspective at some point, like you change so much, not just physically but mentally, growing from a freshman all the way up through your senior year of high school. And so there's a lot of things that could change between now and 2027. But I think when you have the influences that he does, obviously Kevin Sperry is going to be one of those. I think that certainly helps with where he's headed. And look, let's talk about it in a sense that one, Oklahoma's headed into the SEC right now. There's a lot of what ifs being played. There's a lot of how is this going to look? And by 2027, this program could be uh, even in higher regard than it is right now. And many of us believe that that's the case just with how the program is being run. So if he's committed to them now, as Oklahoma is building, by 2027, as long as things continue to go positively, I think you got to feel pretty good about where he's at and his commitment level there.
You know what I feel pretty good about, Brian, is the work that's being done over at ouinsider.com, where right now you can get 3 months free access with the promo code OU Spring 24. That's OU Spring 24. And trust me, folks, if the timeline of this video's release isn't evidence of this reality, or I should say evidence enough, trust me, you go take 3 free months over there, you will quickly figure out that there is nobody that will keep you as up to date on everything that's happening behind the scenes as far as the Sooners recruiting efforts, within the Switzer Center, team information, portal information. Of course, that is a very relevant topic right now as the Sooners try to close the deal this weekend with Dominic Williams, the outstanding TCU transfer. But make no mistake, OU Insider is the place to be. Once again, that promo code to get 3 months free with the purchase of 1 month is OU Spring 24. And that's ouinsider.com. That's where you'll find my work, Brian's work, the work of our outstanding colleagues, Jesse Crittenden, Brandon Drum, Brody Lusk, and Blake Mullins. So we hope to see you over on that side. For now, it is a day of revelry in Norman, Oklahoma. 2027 defensive end Zane Rowe on board as the first commit of the cycle for Oklahoma. Enjoy the occasion. We'll see you next time.